Hey Gators and sports fans, get all your Gator talk, news, analysis, and opinions on the Pod Up with Matthews in the Morning podcast. Find us on your favorite podcast platform or watch us on Facebook Live between 8 a.m. and 9 a.m. every weekday. Pod Up, because we are Gator fans. So say it's great to be a Florida Gator.
Good morning and welcome to this Wednesday edition of Pod Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Got a good show lined up today. Second half of this show, we'll have former Gator All-American Lewis Oliver join the program. But of course, at the beginning every Wednesday, we go to our Titan MR hotline and we're joined by Johnny C.
Yeah.
Good morning, JC. How are you?
Hey, man. How you doing, Shane? Yeah, Wednesday, beautiful weather. We've got the hurricane coming up the Gulf again, of course. Why wouldn't we have one of those? Sure do. Zeta's on the way.
Where's it going? What's the path? Tell me the path. I had no idea.
It will be here tonight and hit as a small or large Category 1, small Category 2 with 100-mile-an-hour winds and strong storm surge. And Biloxi, Mississippi, Pascagoula, Mississippi, Mobile, Alabama, and New Orleans, all within the cone of uncertainty. So off it goes. The good news is that it's running at about 35 miles an hour. It will be there tonight and go immediately up into the southeastern United States, of course. So wet weather at the end of the week, but by the weekend before football games are played, I would expect the weather to be very pleasant. So hopefully the poor beleaguered folks in the Gulf Coast of Mississippi, Louisiana, and Alabama can somehow weather one more of these deals, and hopefully only one more, because this one just popped out of nowhere, but it's a fast mover, so flooding should be minimal. I just think it's amazing. It's amazing where we've gotten to in the hurricane season, but I know you didn't get me on here to talk about hurricanes, but that is happening, and it will happen tonight in that area once again. So, last night, QB, we watched the Dodgers beat the Braves, win their first World Series since 1988, and I think about this and I say, well, good pitching beats good offense most of the time in these deals. But Tampa Bay had good enough pitching to win a World Series this year. They just couldn't hit with men on base. In Game 5, they had first and third, couldn't score. And last night, some opportunities. But the Dodger pitching was great. But the difference was the Dodgers got the timely hits against good Tampa Bay pitching, and that's why they are the World Series champions, first time since '88. I could not believe what Kevin Cash did by taking out Blake Snell. There's no rationale for it. I don't care what anybody says. You give up one hit and you're taken out of the game when you are effective. So I thought that was a big mistake. He can analyze it all he wants. He can rationalize it all he wants. But if you have to throw basically a no-hitter to not be taken out of a Tampa Bay Rays game, then it's going to be tough to stay as a Tampa Bay Ray. I thought it was a terrible decision. I thought it cost them the game, but their hitting or lack thereof with runners on base, I think, was the story, and the Dodgers are the champs.
Yeah, I mean, it was he's going to catch heat for that for years.
He is.
But, it's what they do. It's what they did every game during the season. He just stuck to what they did. Didn't work out.
No.
Unfortunately for the Rays, it's going to be something that he lives with for the rest of his life. That's not going to be great.
Well, he may get another chance. You never know, but it's just
they're a team that they can hang around. But as you mentioned, from top to bottom, the lineup that the Dodgers had, it was a phenomenal baseball team, and kudos to them. What did you think about? But as you mentioned, was it Game 5? When I guess it was Game 5 when they had first and third, nobody out, and didn't score any runs.
Yeah, and that's
the turning point of the whole series, in my opinion.
Yeah, it is, and it's too bad because they had just come off the momentum of that miracle win in Game 4. If they go ahead, get those two runners in, or at least one of them in, anything could have changed. Anything could have been different. But that Urias, Julio, the pitcher for the Dodgers, the lefty, was really unbelievable. And I thought Corey Seager, without any doubt, was the MVP for that team. But that team really played well. I mean, Betts with the home run. Turner is so dangerous at the plate, and their pitching is just really off the charts good. So, if we had had a full 162-game season, I don't have any doubt whatsoever that the LA Dodgers would have won the National League. I just think they were the clearly best team. Tampa Bay, over the course of 160 games, may or may not have won the American League, but they were certainly the best team in the American League during that shortened season. But, it goes back to me, where if you can't score mathematically, you have no chance to win. And so good pitching usually does beat good hitting. But at some point, if you don't score, I don't care what kind of pitching you have. And Tampa Bay's pitching was good enough to win this thing, and it just didn't happen for them. So it's a tough break for Tampa fans, but hey, they got to another championship final. The way the Tampa Bay Bucks are playing, they could be playing this team who's going to win the AFC and the NFL Super Bowl. You never know, but I think this team is clearly going to make it to the Super Bowl, and barring some kind of odd, unforeseen thing that could happen, which in this year is certainly possible. And you never know what the Bucks have in store, but the way they're playing right now, I sure like their chances in that NFC.
We got a couple of Facebook Live comments here. Chris says, "Good morning. I love the show." He says Baker County Middle School will be playing for the championship next Tuesday night. Okay. He wants to know if I'm not busy Monday. I'd love for me to come out and talk to his players. I'd love to. I tell you what, my schedule is so crazy right now, JC. With all these shows that I do and other stuff, I don't have time to sit around. I didn't get it. I missed the, Rick says here, great show last night about Carlos Alvarez. I had to tape it. I wasn't able to watch it last night. Did you happen to see the documentary at all? I had Carlos on yesterday.
But I am going to watch it. I do remember watching him as a child, though. My dad would take me to Florida Field, and he was his favorite wide receiver. And soon after Carlos Alvarez came Wes Chandler. But Carlos was great. I mean, the Cuban Comet. And he caught everything. So that's a good documentary, and I am going to watch it. Yes. I love those jerseys back then with the orange helmets and the UF on the side. That's what I grew up with. That's Gator football, baby. Even though they would go 6-6 every year, but that's Gator football.
Yeah, I don't care too much for the interlocking UF.
Yes,
I love the uniforms they're going to be wearing Saturday.
Right. So this uniform Saturday, I guess you give them an A+, huh?
Oh yeah, it's an outstanding uniform.
Now I would agree with you as long as the pants are white. Okay, they have to have.
What other color are they going to be?
Well, I don't know. I mean, these kids these days, they match the shirts with the pants, blue on blue.
JC, it's a throwback from 1966.
I know. Okay, well,
okay. Did they wear colored pants back in 1966? No, they're white pants. Get up to date on the uniforms. You started talking uniforms. I lost my train of thought of what I was getting ready to I was going to ask you. So what are your thoughts about how Major League Baseball takes out Justin Turner in the middle of the game due to a positive COVID test, and then he celebrates with his team with no mask and all that kind of stuff? JC's thoughts on that?
Well, JC's thoughts on that are, would anybody be surprised if there's more positive tests coming from the LA Dodgers? But I don't think at that moment they really thought about it or cared. And I think the Dodgers knew what the risks were. They went ahead and said, you know what, we're just going to throw caution to the wind here. It's their choice. I don't think it's very responsible. At the same time, I think the guy deserves to celebrate with his team. But if he's a carrier of this virus, which has been the story of 2020, you can always celebrate later, but maybe you ought to be a little careful, because if he actually ends up with symptoms at some point and starts feeling terribly, let's say on the plane ride home tonight or tomorrow when he gets there, and then he finds out 10 other of his teammates all of a sudden out of nowhere start feeling bad like he does. What's he going to feel like? And what is the rest of the team going to feel like after this? Because at some point, your health is everything, right? It doesn't matter if you win a championship or not, but your health is everything. So to me, I understand why he did it. I understand why the Dodger teammates didn't seem to have a problem with it. But I think once we come down from this high and we get back to normal again, which will be sooner than later, it's going to be potentially a big problem. Now, in Los Angeles last night, they're looting trucks and they're overturning things and going bat crazy, right, in the streets of LA, much like what they're doing in Philadelphia right now. And nothing in Philadelphia's won, but in LA, they won a championship and went crazy. I'm sure that at some point that's going to come out too as being another super spreader that we keep hearing about these days.
Yeah, the whole Justin Turner thing is very strange to me. First of all, I don't know why. I don't know what the protocol is from the testing for the Major League Baseball, but it seems like they've done a pretty good job the entire year.
Yeah.
But if they were tested before the games, each game, you would think they wouldn't wait till the middle of the game to get the results back.
It's odd. It's very strange.
It's very strange to me. And yes, I do agree. Hopefully he did not spread it. Now, we don't know how many Dodgers have already had it, and we still don't know if you can get the virus more than
twice.
Once.
Right.
Yeah. So I'm just trying to picture my mind if I was a player on the Dodgers celebrating a world championship.
Right.
I don't think anybody even thought about that at that moment.
Right. But
and so it will be interesting. I've never in my entire life understood why people riot after you do something that is great.
It's and it only happens in our great cities of America. You're right. I don't understand that whole thought, that logic. I understand celebrating and going crazy and jumping up and down and all this, but just taking advantage of society is ridiculous.
Could you imagine?
I don't get it.
If let's just who won the national title in football last year? Was it Clemson?
And it was LSU.
Oh, it was LSU. Yeah. Could you imagine? Could you imagine if in Baton Rouge they start burning buildings and go to New Orleans and start burning the Superdome?
Last I checked, Clemson, South Carolina, and Tuscaloosa, Alabama are well intact. Everything's just fine. It's hard to understand. I think a lot of it has to do with demographics. I think a lot of it has to do with just basic numbers and having some really crazy people. That's crazy people that cause it to me. And I think that and look, the Dodgers, again, I think tomorrow, the next day, the afterglow will be tremendous. But this thing with Turner, if it gets worse, or if he gets worse, or if some of his players start showing up with bad symptoms, it's going to really put a wet blanket on that celebration. I'm sorry, it is. And to your point, how in the hell does this guy test in the middle of the game when before the game, if he was supposedly tested, he was cool to play? And, the Major League Baseball, remember, back when it started, there were some major issues. The Phillies had them. The Mets had them. Some teams just couldn't play for weeks. I remember in the Phillies, that they didn't play for 2 weeks almost, it seemed like.
Marlins were shut down for a long time.
And the Marlins were shut down for a long time. So it did affect baseball, and somehow they trudged through this season. The organization that did this the best, based on the lack of positive tests, if you base it solely on that, the organization that handled this better than anybody was the National Hockey League. And as hard as it may have been to be in these bubbles in Toronto and Edmonton, the exam results were a flat negative, and everybody seemed to play. And come on, we saw these baseball teams have to shut down. We saw some of these college
football. JC, the baseball teams were going from city to city traveling.
I agree.
The hockey and NBA did it the right way, but because they didn't go anywhere. Right. They were there for 3.5 months. We got a Facebook Live. First, we got to refresh your vehicle and your brand with the vehicle wrap from Wrap Spot. October is your lucky month at Wrap Spot. Mention promo code Shane and receive 13% off your vehicle wrap. We're speaking with JC here. At 8:30, we'll be joined by a former All-American here at the University of Florida and longtime Miami Dolphin, Lewis Oliver, will be joining the program. Dan says here, Facebook Live comment brought to you by Meldon Law, where you matter most. Wrong, JC. The crazy soccer fans in Europe destroy things after every win.
I no argument there. He's right. I wasn't thinking about Europe. I try not to in many occasions, but he is right about that. And I don't know why soccer fans are so nutty. But I do know that here in North America or in some of our wonderful big cities, it seems like destruction is the way to go these days. And I don't understand that. It makes no sense to me. And yes, he's right. Soccer fans are lunatics. They are crazy.
Greg also says here on Facebook Live, brought to you by Meldon Law, lifelong Dodgers fan here. Go Dodgers. But not great optics on the JT COVID situation. Getting caught up in the moment is not an excuse. And how does the result come out in the bottom of the 8th? I think that's what has to be answered by Major League Baseball.
I agree 100%. That doesn't make much sense to me, assuming that all the protocols were taken before they played. So, could there be some malfeasance here? I don't know, but it does seem strange that over the course of 8 innings, you go from negative to positive. So I would say guessing that he probably wasn't tested before the game. I would say guessing that they decided to throw caution to the wind because he probably tested negative the day before and said, you know what, we need to close this thing out and get back and finish this series. I don't know. I have no idea. But you can pretty much guess that if he tested negative before the game and then tested positive in the 8th inning, that sounds fishy to me.
Well, I don't know what their protocol is. My point is, all these leagues, including the SEC, have outside sources that do all the testing. So again, it's not like where you can convince your team doctor to let you play if you tested positive. Team doctors and stuff have nothing to do with it.
No, I know, but you mentioned a minute ago that they were supposedly testing before each game.
No, I was asking that. I would assume they tested before every game.
Okay, well, then I'm going to go with that assumption as well. And I think most of the players on the field and most of the organizations who play these games go with those assumptions. I mean, they can afford it. They do it. They try to keep the leagues going. So, Nick Saban.
But my point is, if you test before every game, you have that result before the first pitch. I'm anxious to hear what Major League Baseball has to say about that. JC, switching gears a little bit, and congrats to the Dodgers. How about, is it in 2 weeks, College Game Day is going to be doing game day from Augusta National?
Well, I guess they just want to be there. I mean, do we not have any games in 2 weeks, QB? Maybe LSU and Alabama are playing.
Is that when they play?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And so, let's say LSU just starts getting back to LSU football with this new quarterback. Let's just assume they win.
We're not going to assume he's going to be their starter now. Miles Brennan was playing very well.
He will, but I was going to ask you that question. If you're the coach, what do you do? And I've already got my answer, but I'd love to hear how you would approach it. But my point here is, before we talk about that, what happens if LSU starts really playing well this next game, wins, beats Auburn, and then has Alabama coming to town? Alabama's undefeated. They just finished beating Mississippi State, and they come to town. Why would Game Day be there? And I think the answer is because they want to be at the Masters this year. So they're going.
Well, yeah. I mean, first of all, here's the thing. You do it at the Masters because it'll never happen again. You'll never have that opportunity.
That's why.
Fans can't go to the Home Depot setup anyway.
Right, that can't.
So it doesn't matter where they are.
No, I know, but you brought it up. So so the point is why? Okay, well, the reason is because of what you just said. They can't do it in November ever. So they're going to do it this year because they want to. And you're right. I think that's why, because it's being held in November. So moving on to my question for you, QB, is if you're Ed Orgeron, what do you do about this game with Auburn? Who do you start?
Well, Miles Brennan,
assuming that Miles is healthy. Let's say he is. He's been off 3 weeks now. He's had 3 weeks off.
He got hurt in Missouri.
Right.
Had a week off. He's had about 2.5 weeks off, but he's got torn muscles and broken ribs. So that takes time. I'd have to see how healthy he really is.
Let's just say he was healthy. What would you do?
I'd probably start Miles Brennan because he was ahead of pace of what Joe Burrow was on last year, JC. People don't realize that. He played extremely well.
No, I see it, but I would start the other kid because.
Well, you're only saying that because that's the last thing you saw. You saw Miles Brennan lose against Mississippi State. That's in your mind. But Miles Brennan played pretty damn good. He threw for like 350-something yards in that game.
They lost to Missouri too. But I saw what this.
He scored 40. He scored 48 points as the quarterback. That ain't his fault. They gave up 45.
No, it's not. It's not. And I see that. And it does come down to whether or not he's feeling up to it. But with those kinds of issues with ribs, I would doubt it. The kid that played Saturday, though, clearly took advantage of his opportunity. His completion percentage was off the charts good for somebody coming in cold like that. And he probably had more time than usual to prepare and get ready. But the thing is that he's got the hot hand, and typically I think what happens is that you go with the guy with the hot hand. But I can understand both points. I really do. I think Brandon,
as a coach, you got to go by who you trust the most. Is it the true freshman, or is it like a redshirt sophomore? Yeah, like I said, that kid played extremely well. I liked what I saw. Yeah. But how many times have you seen freshmen, first-time starters play like that, and in the next couple of weeks, you're like, how is he even on the team?
It's a point. It's a good point.
It's a great example of it is, you remember when Georgia Tech beat Florida State, and their quarterback is out of Jacksonville. He's a true freshman, played really well. I shouldn't say well. He played okay.
Yeah.
They beat Florida State week 1. Okay.
Yes.
They haven't done anything since then.
No.
And the quarterback's been very average. So you can't just look at one deal. But no, TJ Finley played extremely well. He's a big, strong arm guy. He can move. I like him. But you got to remember, Miles Brennan was ahead of pace of the best player to ever played at that position. And so he was playing pretty damn good, I thought. So it'll be interesting to see.
I don't deny that.
It'll be interesting to see what happens. At Chris Doring Mortgage, they do mortgage lending right, helping home buyers throughout Gainesville and North Central Florida. Call Chris Doring Mortgage today at 352-244-0840. Speaking with JC on the Titan MR hotline at 8:30, we'll be joined by Lewis Oliver. Seeing what Lewis is up to these days, talk a little bit about his career. What else you got, JC? Anything?
Well, I'm thinking about, okay, here we are on hump day, and after today, I don't know what the practice is like over there at UF, but I guess they start to tone it down a little bit and get ready to start hitting on Saturday and play. I love the 7:30 game. I saw where, or my son, who's a student there, reported to me last night that they expanded the lottery to students to be able to participate in the game, meaning that hopefully more kids, if they want to, can go to the game. And he was unaware of the fact that it started at 7:30 because we've gotten so conditioned now to accept these 12 o'clock games, which are miserable. But in a time like this, without any kind of game festivities happening, it's probably the best thing that could happen, because I'm sure the players are ready to go and want to play, unless you're from a different time zone. So here we go, 7:30 game against a team that's hot right now, and I'm really, really curious to see how Florida comes out and plays. I would think, and I'm going to say, that they won't really be that rusty. I think they're going to come off pretty good, because it's kind of like getting on that bicycle after you haven't done it, or after you broke your leg. You get back on it and it all comes back to you. And I think they've played enough games to where they're going to come back and be just as effective on offense, and maybe, who knows, maybe even better on defense. Bazelak is a good quarterback for Missouri. They've done a great job, I think, since they were hammered early in the season, and they've won some big games. So Missouri traditionally, and not that this has anything to do with it, but traditionally Missouri has given Florida fits. Missouri, for some reason, has Florida's number many times in the past, has had Florida's number. But this Florida team is better offensively than those teams have been or will ever be. And this team offensively can put up points against pretty much anybody in the country. So if Pitts can play well, obviously, if Trask plays well, if the whole team offensively doesn't miss a beat, I think Florida's going to be in the 40s again, and maybe even in the 50s, and not miss a beat and get tuned up for that Georgia game.
Wow. Well, I'm going to have to disagree with you, JC.
Well, I'm just saying.
First of all, I'm going to disagree with you on the timing of the game. I so wish this was a noon game. We waited so long. We haven't played in so long, and there's nothing worse as a player than having to sit around the hotel all night, all day.
I mean, I get it. I mentioned that.
And so it's just the night game. I understand for fans is exciting, but you can't tailgate, so it doesn't. It means
well, no.
Look,
kids are going to tailgate. They're just not going to do it on campus, bro.
Right.
And then they're going to show up.
I am extremely concerned about not doing any football-related activities for 16 days and then practicing for 4 days and getting ready for an SEC.
I don't know. I would be if this was the beginning of the season, QB, but they've already played 4 games.
But they're creatures of habit. We've done nothing. They've been sitting in their dorm rooms, sitting in their apartments for 16 days. Yeah. And trust me, if we go out there and we're sharp on offense, I will be shocked. Because
you don't think they're going to score 40 points?
It ain't like riding a bike. It ain't like riding a bike.
Okay, so they're not going to score 40 points.
We'll see. We'll see. I'll be surprised.
I say they are. And if they do, then they'll be sharp. I believe that. I mean.
Okay. Well, I hope you're right, and I hope I'm wrong, but I'm just going on 16 days of nothing.
Yeah.
In football it's never happened before. Never.
That's tough. Yeah, that's tough.
So
I agree with that. I mean, it's tough. It's tough. But I don't know. I mean, maybe the first quarter will be a little shaky, but they'll fall into the game and things will start coming back. I just do think that, because These kids have played football before. This isn't new. They've done it.
I realize that, but JC, you got to have all 11 guys working together. And
Yeah,
when you haven't done anything for 16 days, it just doesn't come together like that. That's why you have practice, multiple practices for 3 to 4 weeks before the season starts.
Sure.
So it's a huge concern. JC, we appreciate it, my man. We'll make sure you tune in Friday for the Peachland Dentistry JC and the QB weekend picks.
All right, my man.
Pick some good games, JC. Do some homework. Let's go.
Okay. I'll be there.
At Center State Bank, we put business first. We're the largest community bank in the state of Florida and understand that small businesses need a community business partner that they can rely on. Center State has 5 convenient Alachua County locations to serve you better. Center State Bank, member FDIC. Going to take our first time out of the program. When we come back, we're going to be joined by All-American Lewis Oliver. You're watching and listening to Pot Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios.
Hey Gator Nation, this is your former head ball coach Steve Spurrier. Check out our show Inside the Huddle with Shane Matthews and Steve Russell every Tuesday during football season on 8:50 a.m. and 98.1 FM WRUF at 10 o'clock a.m.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our Gridiron sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility.
Area Rug Masters, your number one choice in Gainesville for all your rug cleaning services.
Meldon Law, where you matter most. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte.
Celebration Point Town Center, Center State Bank, Chris Doring Mortgage. Some of our touchdown sponsors are Style Cuts, Ironwood Golf Course, TB Financial, Meadowbrook Golf Course, Dar Shakow Insurance, Pomodoro Cafe,
Big Mills Cheesesteaks,
MB Listing, Cornerstone Financial, McDonald's Gainesville, My IT Masters, Gainesville Neon and Signs, 84 Lumber, Tropical Smoothie, Chick-fil-A on Archer Road, Aver and Smith Personal Injury Attorneys, Orange Theory Fitness, PRP Regeneration Specialist, and Dowling Signs.
Again, thank you for all the great businesses that support the show. Please remember, if you like what we are doing here, thank our sponsors and support the businesses that support us.
Welcome back to a Wednesday edition of Pot Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Celebration points where the Gators come to celebrate. With premium brands like Bass Pro Shop, Tommy Hilfiger, Hotel Indigo, Nike, Medici's, Regal Cinemas, and coming spring of 2021, the HBC's new restaurant, Spurrier's Gridiron Grill and Visor's Rooftop Bar. We will see you at Celebration Point where the Gators come to celebrate. Our next guest did a lot of celebrating in the orange and blue, wore number 18 for the Gators, All-American, Hall of Famer, Lewis Oliver. Good morning, Lewis. How are you, buddy?
Yo, what's up, Shane? How you doing, baby?
Doing great, man. Appreciate you taking the time to join us. When I have former players on, I like to go back to their younger days. You grew up down at Belle Glades, down there where there's speed out the yin out there. People could run. Let's talk a little bit about, obviously you were a great player down there. How big were you in high school when you were being recruited?
Well, I didn't get recruited, Shane.
Well, that's the reason I wanted to say. I want to know how big you were and why these people didn't give you a scholarship.
Well, coming out of high school, I think I was probably about 6 feet, about 185, 190 pounds.
Wow. So, you didn't get recruited.
No.
You played for Belle Glades Central. Did you have other schools that you had an opportunity to walk on at? And what made you choose to come to Florida as a walk-on?
Well, I mean, I felt coming from Glades Central High School, I mean, we had a lot of guys that had come out of the high school that had gone to Florida, Ray McDonald, Tommy Duhart, Greg Bain, Ronnie Weston. So I played with those guys. So I just felt like, if those guys were going D1 and I played against them and practiced against them every day, I felt like I could play D1 ball. But I had other offers from lower end school, from some Ivy League schools, since I was pretty smart and and that type of stuff. But I just wanted to play football. I had colleges like Rice and Western Kentucky, Eastern Kentucky, Brown and Princeton, and Holy Cross and places like that. So I just felt like, since I got a partial academic scholarship to Florida, I'll go there, walk on, make the team, and yada, yada, yada. So I just took my chances in Gainesville. I felt like Florida State was too far from Belgrade, and at that time, the University of Miami was too close with a lot of the protests and the riots and stuff down here, and I didn't want to be involved in that. So I took my talents to Gainesville.
Yeah, you came to Gainesville and obviously became a tremendous player, no doubt about it. But I would say, if we put a poll up, who's the greatest walk-on player ever in the history of Florida, it would probably be, I would say, Louis Oliver, Kerwin Bell, or Chris Doring. Probably one of those three would be on everybody's list. But when you got to Florida, Florida, in the 80s, Galen was the head coach, had tremendous talent everywhere.
Yes.
What did you have to do to insert yourself into the starting lineup?
Well, I got there in '84. I tried out for the team. I made the team. I played the first two games. I played the University of Miami game, and then the second game we played Tennessee at home. So those first two games, I was backup free safety. I was backup strong safety, and I was starting on all the special teams. And after that second game, I got redshirted. So that the rest of that year I was redshirted. So all I would do was I just worked out. I never went to any of the home games, never went to any away games. When the team after practice, I'd do extra. I was always working extra just to try to get better, to get stronger, to get faster, to get bigger, to get smarter. And that's all I did. I just tried to outwork everybody that I could possibly, that came and tried to put on a uniform and play in front of me.
Let's talk about you. You were there a true freshman in '84, and a lot of people that have followed Gator football for so many years talk about those '84 and '85 teams, all the freaking talent. It's unbelievable. So I don't know how much you follow football. I know you're busy, and we'll talk about what you got going on now. But when you look back at Florida's national title, their first one under Spurrier in 1996, and Urban won in 06 and 08, I'm sure you saw some of the talent on those teams, but was the talent better on the two teams that you played for in '84 and '85?
I think so, definitely. I mean, we had offensive linemen. We had John L. Williams first round, Lorenzo Hampton first round, Neil Anderson first round, Ricky Nattil first round, Lomas Brown first round, Crawford Kerr, Jeff Zimmerman, Chris Bromley. The names went on, and they just kept on. So that 84, 85, those 84, 85 teams, we were just as stacked as any team that Florida has had that's won the national championship.
Let me ask you this, because I know you were redshirt in '84, but that was the year they won the SEC.
Yes.
And I've had Ricky Nattil, I've had Kerwin, Neil Anderson. I had a bunch of guys that were part of that team. And you being redshirt, but you were still part of the team. Does it bother you that the university doesn't really acknowledge that team for what they did on the field?
No, we know. We know what we did, and everybody that we played against knew what we did, and that year we went on probation, so they took away a lot of titles and yada yada. But still, we kicked a lot of ass on the field, so you can't take that back.
Yeah, that's so true. Let me ask you this. When you look back at your Gator career, is there one moment that stands out in Louis Oliver's mind that was like the best moment you had as a player?
Oh, man. I don't know. I would probably say that Florida State game in 1985, that kind of, Ricky Knight, who was the starting strong safety at that time, he got hurt right before halftime, and they put me in. And then we were playing in the first, I remember the first play, their receiver, Holloway, ran a quick slant, and I broke his collarbone, and about 2 plays later, they threw a deep pass to the opposing sideline, and I intercepted it. And then about fourth quarter, they had 3rd and 1, 4th and 1 on the 2-yard line, and I tackled their starting fullback for 2-yard losses, two plays in a row. So that game would stand out the most to me.
Who was, now the league has changed a lot. You have the different East and the West. But when you look back at your career, was there one opponent that you look forward to playing every year? Would it be y'all played Miami, I think, every year when you were playing?
Yes.
Would it be Miami, Georgia, Florida State, or all of them?
Man, I would rather play games like I would rather play teams like Georgia, Auburn, Tennessee, LSU every week. Don't give me no passes. I don't want to play easy games for homecoming. I don't want to play non-conference games that teams aren't at the level that we are. Give me the best that you got to play every week.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. So, Lewis, is there who out of the guys that you played with in your 4 and 5 years here, do you still have a really good bond with a lot of the former players? Y'all keep in touch?
Oh man, we keep in touch a lot. Matter of fact, we were going to do a Zoom last night, but they want to push. The guys didn't have enough time, so we're going to do a Zoom this coming Monday night, right before the Monday Night Football. So it's going to be about 25, 30 guys. Ron Moulton, Anthony Williams, Ronnie Weston, Clifford Charlton, Todd Gatlin, Pat Moore, Buddha. I mean, these are just nicknames. I mean, we got so many guys that are waiting for this thing this coming Monday, so I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, those names ring a bell because all you guys were seniors my true freshman year.
Right.
And man, I was intimidated by you guys. Y'all were some specimens. And you said when you came to Florida, you were about 190 pounds?
Yes.
And then you left at about what, 225?
I left. I grew 3 inches when I was there. I got up to 225 pounds. 4'3", 540, and yada yada yada.
Yeah. What was it like playing for Galen Hall?
I mean, coach was great. I mean, coach was fantastic. I mean, hey man, our teams were. I mean, I felt like when we were playing, being there, we were on probation for so long. It's like either we were stacked on one side of the ball and just adequate on the other side, and then some years we were stacked on the opposing side of the ball, and we never really got those after the 84, 85 season. I felt as though we never really got that whole both sides of the ball ready to just to put us on the level to where we can get back and play ball the way we did in 84 and 85.
We're speaking with Gator great here, Lewis Oliver on the Titan MR hotline. Lewis, you were inducted into the University of Florida Athletic Hall of Fame. What did that mean to you?
I mean, it was a great accomplishment. I just felt like, it was, for all the work that I put in, I came in, nobody knew who I was, and I just worked myself into a position to where people knew who I was. And, just to play with the guys that I played for the coaches that I played for, the fans, they were fantastic, man. Just to go into that stadium and see those fans in that orange and blue and just to hear them screaming, man, you can't relive those times. And you want to so badly, but, just the memories are more than adequate enough.
Speaking of memories, they did away, I think a couple of years after I graduated in 92, about 94, 95, they did away with Yon Hall. They did away with athletic dorms. There's nothing like Yon Hall. Crazy stuff went on in Yon Hall. You got any good stories about Yon Hall that you can tell on air?
I don't like. I would have had a problem. Because I was so used to that Yon Hall atmosphere where athletes, we ate with each other, we ate with the football team, basketball, baseball, track team. Even the female athletes came over and ate. So those were great times. So. To get out of that, and then like you said, a few years after I left, you guys had to go into the regular student population. So I don't know how I would have handled it, but because we had so much fun, it's like we were in our own little camp. But I never would forget one morning I wake up and I go to the bathroom, and I'm in the bathroom and I see these women feet in the stall next to me, and it's Ricky Mulberry's girlfriend, Sonia. And she's on the toilet, and she bams on the door next to me, and she said, "Hey, Lewis, pass me some toilet paper, my toilet paper."
Oh, that's great. That's great. So, Lewis, you were one of those big, physical, intimidating type safeties when you played not only professionally, and we'll get to that, but in college. Nowadays, you can't touch a receiver.
No.
How many times would you have been thrown out of a game the way that they call targeting on safeties these days, how many games do you think you would have got thrown out at Florida? About all
Just
of them?
about every one of them.
Yeah.
I mean, because I was trying to destroy guys. It's not football now. I don't think it's football. It's more like, it's like flag football. It's like, okay, hey, I touch you guys, so you're down. So we stop the play right here. But the game. How do you tackle? Your head is a part of your neck. Your head, your neck, your shoulders. So when you come with all of that, you're gonna hit guys with this. But I don't see how you can play nowadays without, tackling guys. And, I saw a game the other day, a college game, and this guy clearly hit the guy with his shoulder in his chest. This guy got thrown out of the game for targeting. I mean, like, come on now. If we're going to play football, let's play football. If you guys want to play something else, then you play something else.
Was there ever in college during your career that you got run over by some running back in the SEC, or did that not ever happen?
No. I mean, we played in the SEC, and Georgia kept big backs, Auburn kept big backs, LSU kept big backs, Tim Worley, Henderson, and those big guys. But Dalton Hilliard, no, I wasn't having it. No.
Yeah. So after your Gator career, you get drafted first round by the Miami Dolphins, which, gosh, that's like playing professionally in your hometown down there.
Yes.
What was that like playing for the Dolphins and playing with Dan Marino?
I mean, that was fantastic because they were the team that I rooted for growing up. I grew up watching Mercury Mars, Jim Kick, Larry Zonka, Paul Warfield. So I was big fans of the Dolphins. And then come draft day, 89, and Coach Shula called me. I was in Chicago, me, Deion Sanders, and our agent, Steve Zucker. We were sitting at his house, and Coach Shula called and said, hey, we're getting ready to pick number 25. Would you like to play for the Dolphins? I said, man, are you crazy? And about 15, 20 seconds later, they called my name. And right after that, I was on a plane coming to Miami.
I'm trying to think, you were reunited with Jarvis. With Jarvis, Dolphins, yes. Right? Was
yes.
He's a little bit older than you, right?
Jarvis came out the year before I did. Jarvis came out in 88. I came out in 89. Jarvis came out second round to Miami. And then, and matter of fact, Jarvis told me after right before the draft, he came back up to Gainesville. He was like, look, I think we're going to pick you in the first round. And I was like, what? He was like, yeah, that's what, my coaches are telling me. And sure as shit, that's how it happened.
Oh, wow. So, you had a tremendous career in the NFL. I want to ask you this because you were a tremendous player, and I saw some great, I didn't play a whole lot. I stood on the sidelines a lot in the NFL. I saw some great running backs. Was there one running back in the National Football League that you I don't want to say had nightmares about, but you're like, man, I got to try to tackle this guy. One guy comes to my mind that I thought was the best I've ever seen was Barry Sanders. He was ridiculous. Is there any running back that you hated to go up against?
I mean, I'm going to say this, and I'm probably going to get killed for saying this, Shane, being there with both Gators. And, I thought Emmett was amazing. I mean,
yeah.
And Emmett's got the NFL rushing record, all of that stuff. I'm going to tell you what, Barry Sanders, to me, I've never seen anything like it. I've never seen anything like it in my life. This guy was, you didn't have to worry about getting ran over. More so you had to worry about just getting embarrassed because, he could, I don't know where he got his vision and his balance from, but that cat was amazing. There were bigger backs that you would just, okay, whoa, I got to tackle Kevin Mack or I got to tackle Bo Jackson. Okay, now you got to psych yourself out. But when it came to Barry, it was just like, hey, man, I do not want to get embarrassed on national TV. I watched all of those times he did John Lynch so bad from Tampa Bay. It was ridiculous.
I got a text on the Titan MR text line. It comes from Joe, who's a big Dolphins fan. He wants to know what it was like playing with Dan Marino. Was he a great teammate?
Danny was phenomenal, man. Danny was a great player, great person. Danny was, I tried to go against Danny in practice more so than any other quarterback because I want a game day preparation all the time. So Danny helped me just hone my skills, pick up on my reads and really get into a nice comfort zone when I was playing the Jim Kellys and the Boomer Esiasons and the John Elways of the league. So But just playing against Danny, he kept me sharp. As they say, iron sharpens iron. Danny definitely kept me sharp.
What was it like playing for a legend in Don Shula? You know, we lost Coach Shula this past year,
Yes.
or maybe it was, I can't remember when it was, but what was it like playing for him?
Greatest coach I've ever had. One of the greatest persons I've ever met. Knew everything, knew every position, knew every player, he even knew as an offensive coach, he stayed mostly on offense, but he knew all the defensive plays and he knew where we were supposed to be. And those were the things that he always taught us as players. Don't just know what you're supposed to do, know what everybody's supposed to do. So he helped me out a great deal studying film because he was a defensive back when he played with the Colts. So he'd come in there, sit down, we'd go over film. He'd tell me, pick up on these keys, watch this player and watch this technique and watch this alignment. So he helped me out a great deal, but definitely one of the best, definitely, in my opinion, the best coach I've ever had.
Yeah. So, Lewis, let the Gator Nation know once you were done with the Miami Dolphins, you played 8 or 9 years, you retired from the league. What you been up to since then?
Well, I got into a lot of entertainment. I did, do a lot of entertainment stuff. I do a lot of real estate investing. And now that the pandemic has shut down the entertainment stuff, I got a new venture coming. I'm very excited about. I just don't want to jinx it right now by telling you, but it's coming real soon, Zane. I mean, it's something really big and that I think is really big anyway. So we just have to sit back and be a little patient and check it out.
Good deal. Also, don't you have a daughter that's a really good tennis player?
Yeah, Layla. She's 8, but you're gonna see her real soon. I mean, she's a super talent. She's a talent.
Now, does she play any other sports or just tennis?
No, I mean she's strictly tennis. She's great in academics. So but she can run really good and. But she loves the tennis, so we're definitely going to keep her on the tennis track.
So out of the 3 running backs that were at Florida when you were there, I think it was John L., Lorenzo Hampton, and Neil, right?
Yes.
Those 3?
Yes.
Which one was the hardest to tackle?
John L. Williams.
Yeah? He just tried to run you over?
John L. was about 5'11", 6 feet, 245, thighs as big as a car tire, strong as a bull. Man, I mean, he was tough as nails. Lorenzo was, he was a flash and dash back, and Neil had it all. Neil could run you over, and plus Neil had super speed. So, but Johnny L was just very hard to tackle because he was strong, man. He was like Willie McGrady. You remember McGrady?
Oh yeah, Big Willie.
Yeah, he was built like that, but he was tough as nails.
Did you ever take any cheap shots and hit Ricky Nattil during 7-on-7?
No. I mean, when the ones, if one, if one go against one, I mean, you're not doing too much of anything, especially 7-on-7. You're not doing any tackling. Now, if you go to team or you go to scrimmage, and then we can hit. But when 7-on-7, you first of all, you weren't going to touch Kerwin, you weren't going to touch Rick and Teal, you weren't going to touch Emmitt Smith, you weren't going to touch Neil, John L., or Lorenzo Hampton. None of those guys.
So back to your daughter again. Are we looking at like a Venus Serena Williams type player?
She's got a lot of power. She's got a lot of speed, a lot of athleticism. You're going to see a lot more athleticism, power, and speed.
Oh wow!
So I would say if you took Serena and put her with Naomi Osaka's racket speed and Monfils, his athleticism, that's Layla.
Oh my goodness! And you say she's only 8?
Yeah.
Good gracious! All right. Well, we're gonna keep our eye on her. I don't know where she got her athleticism from, but we'll, Lewis, hey man, we appreciate you checking us out, taking the time to join us on Pot Up with Matthews in the morning. One of the greatest Gators of all time. Your story is awesome, especially for walk-ons. Never give up, give it all you got. And we appreciate you taking the time to join our program.
Oh, thank you, Shane, man. And best of luck and keep it going because I think you got a great program here. And hey, man, I appreciate you.
Appreciate it. That's Lewis Oliver. Join us on the Titan MRI hotline. We're going to take our final time out. We'll be back, and we'll wrap up this Wednesday edition.
This is Shane Matthews. Thank you for listening to Pot Up with Matthews in the Morning. You can also check me out on Inside the Huddle with Steve Russell and the head ball coach, Steve Spurrier. Tune in every Tuesday during football season on WRUF 98.1 FM, 8:50 a.m. at 10 o'clock in the morning, or find us on your favorite podcast platform.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our gridiron sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility.
Area Rug Masters, your number one choice in Gainesville for all your rug cleaning services.
Meldon Law, where you matter most. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte.
Celebration Point Town Center, Center State Bank, Chris Doring Mortgage. Some of our touchdown sponsors are Campus USA Credit Union, The Digital Mortgage Guy, Adams Ribs, Doreen Wiebe Realtor, Caldwell Banker MM Parish, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Davis Gainesville Chevrolet, Miapa Latin Cafe, Rap Spot, Okido America, Gators Dockside, Radware, Style Cuts, Ironwood Golf Course, TB Financial, Meadowbrook Golf Course, Dar Shakow Insurance.
Again, thank you for all the great businesses that support the show. Please remember, if you like what we are doing here, thank our sponsors and support the businesses that support us.
Welcome back to this Wednesday edition of Pot Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. This Day in Sports is brought to you by Area Rug Masters, Gainesville's most trusted area rug cleaners with free pickup and delivery. Area Rug Masters is the convenient way to keep the focal point of your room looking brand new. Call Area Rug Masters 352-448-5999. This Day in Sports, back in 1978, NHL hockey legend Bobby Orr scores his last career goal against the Detroit Red Wings. That's brought to you by Area Rug Masters, Gainesville's most trusted area rug cleaners. Really want to thank JC for joining us, but definitely Lewis Oliver. I know a lot of people had Facebook Live comments about Lewis being their favorite player. He was a tremendous player. Great story for the Florida Gators. Also, tomorrow we have Brent Beard going to talk college football. A lot of interesting stuff going on in college football. Also, our high school, Baker's Sporting Goods High School Roundup. And then Friday, we got Mike Morgan and Peter Ball, who covers the Missouri Tigers for The Athletic, will join us, and JC and I will do our picks. But make sure you like us, follow us on Facebook Live. Check us out on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts. I'm trying to talk and read some of these Facebook Live comments as we go out. Scott says, brought to you by Meldon Law. That was excellent. Thoroughly enjoyed following Lewis Oliver's career at Florida and Miami. It was a great tandem with Jarvis Williams. No doubt about that, Scott. We appreciate you watching the show. Today's show is going to be a wrap, folks. Like I said, make sure you follow and like us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. Be safe out there. We will talk to you tomorrow. Take care.